Tito said it best when he said, we have a lot of characters, but we have a lot of character.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate, and also currently the host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here every single day to bring you the latest going on with the Boston Red Sox, even during the offseason when they may disappoint us sometimes, excite us other times. I am here with all of those up and down emotions to discuss the Boston Red Sox all day, every day. So make sure that you subscribe on any podcast platform, as I am here to discuss everything going on with this team. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your Profit Boost pack every NFL playoff game day. Speaking of the NFL, Patriots obviously doing well right now, so that's really exciting. We'll see what happens with them this weekend, but this is not a football podcast. This is a baseball podcast, and we are here to talk all things Boston Red Sox. And while the 2000s era has been a fun time to be a Red Sox fan, I know for me growing up in that era of Red Sox baseball was super fun. I mean, just watching championships, the team that has won the most championships really since they broke their curse in 2004. So it's obviously been a fun time to be a Red Sox fan, but prior to 2004, not so fun for those people who were Boston Red Sox fans and were just aching for a championship. And I have the perfect guest on with me today who was part of the reason that the Red Sox finally broke that big curse and won that championship in 2004. Doug Mientkiewicz, how are you doing today?
How are you? Good morning. Doing well. It's funny you say all that. I joke around with people and say, I don't know what the big deal was. I was there for 3 months and never saw nothing but winning. So, I mean, what's all this doom and gloom running around here for? So I was very lucky to kind of give you a backstory. Look, I never wanted to go see a playoff game. I never wanted to go to a World Series game unless I was playing in it. And in 2003, I was with the Twins. We lost to the Yankees. Had them. I thought we had them. We won game 1. We had them on the ropes in game 2 in a 5-game series. I thought we had it. Anyway, got a lot of friends on that 2003 team. Obviously, we share the same city in spring training. And from Todd Walker, obviously David, played against Tech and Nomar in college and in high school. So I had Johnny Damon. I played on all-star teams with. So I was obviously a Red Sox fan without even knowing it. And I remember being 5 outs away from going to the World Series. I remember sitting there thinking, like, I'm going to watch my boys. Like, they're going to play the Marlins. I'm going. I can't wait. I'm going to finish. We're going to finish this. I'm going to go watch them play. I'm going to break my own thought and go because I really appreciated those guys. And going back and seeing them getting the heart ripped out, like, I was gutted. Like, it hurt me, and I'm not even a Red Sox fan. And I felt bad for my guys. I felt bad for just all of them in general. And to get a chance to go there in 2004 and kind of, exercise the demon, so to speak, and be a part of that was nothing short of a miracle.
Yeah, it's interesting looking back on it because obviously that Red Sox-Yankees rivalry was so strong at that point. And when you think about 2003 and the way that Red Sox team lost and coming back even hungrier in 2004 and having to play the Yankees again, and it just felt like it was meant to be that Red Sox team was going to reverse the script and then hopefully get past the Yankees. And so what was that like being part of that rivalry and experiencing playing against the Yankees in a playoff atmosphere?
Well, it was funny. Growing up, one of my best friends was a diehard Yankee fan. So I disliked the Yankees just out of spite because it's to kind of bother him. And obviously I'm a diehard Don Mattingly fan growing up. So I was a closet, I kind of watched him, but I gave him, for being a Yankee fan. And getting on and being a part of that rivalry was like, that's how baseball's supposed to be. That's, you respect them, but you want to drive their head through a wall. So it was there was intense, and obviously seeing the fight that was earlier in the season, and the way Red Sox walked them off, and then it's funny going on the opposite team with Alex, and I went to high school with Alex, so Alex is on the Yankees, I'm on the Red Sox, and just so many like there's personal stories, there's obviously the rivalry, but I'll never forget this. And I was in Minnesota, and the funny thing is that weekend of the deadline, I was the only guy in the Metrodome that lost every game. I played as a Twin on Friday night. The Red Sox beat the Twins. And then I went to the Red Sox, and the Twins beat the Red Sox Saturday and Sunday. So I was like, man, I was the only guy that left the Metrodome without ever winning a game. But I remember that vividly. I remember I was on the block, and the Twins did a good job of letting me know that, hey, it's probably, with Morneau coming on, and there's, we're probably going to move you. And that's how the Twins were. They moved the older guy for the younger guy. And obviously we all know that Justin was a better hitter than I was. And I remember sitting there during batting practice, and Nomar came up to me and was like, hey, I heard we might be teammates soon. And I was like, man, that'd be great. That'd be awesome. And I remember getting a tap on the shoulder, and my GM goes, well, we traded you to the Chicago Cubs. And I was like, shit. I was like, they got Derek Lee. I mean, he can hit and field. I'm like, well, I think, I heard Iowa's nice in August and September. Like, I was going to get sent to AAA. I think then he said, they traded you to Boston. And I was like, I couldn't get out of the door fast enough. I walked behind the laundry room. Long story short, I see Pedro standing on my chair, no clothes on, screaming, Dougie, give me a hug. And little did I know who was in the deal. So I see Nomar packing his bags, and I about panicked. Look, you always think you're a good player, right? But I'm not an idiot. Like, I knew I wasn't in comparison to Nomar. Like, let's be real. Nomar was the top 3 to 5 players in the game at that time. I felt like I made sense if Nomar was your shortstop. Arm can get erratic. I can help him out with that. And at the time, I didn't know Orlando Cabrera was in the deal. He didn't come to the next day. So I went from yay to, oh no. Like, I know what Nomar means to the Northeast, and coming to play first base we know what happened in 86. So all this stuff is going through my head. So it was a whirlwind, and I was just very thankful. I couldn't have went to a better team that I understood and that I knew of better than those guys. And they made me feel welcome from the word jump. So I was very, very grateful to get moved to a team like that.
Yeah, Nomar was actually the first Red Sox jersey I ever owned. And so that conversation that my dad had to have with me, because I was pretty young still at the time when that happened, and him trying to sit me down and explain to me that sometimes these things happen and players get traded and they might not necessarily stay on the same team forever, was a really hard conversation for him to have with me, because I was pretty heartbroken that they traded him. And at the time, I still wasn't fully understanding that that's a thing and that players can get traded. So it was hard. It was difficult.
It's funny you say that, because I don't keep a lot of memorabilia. I have some small, little minor, not minor, but like very small amount I thought was worthy of it. My first at bat as a Red Sox in the Metrodome, I got a standing ovation, and it went on for longer than it felt like 10 minutes. It was probably a minute. My ex-teammate Brad Radke's pitching, and he steps off the mound and won't get back on the mound until I accept it. And it's funny you say that, because Ron Gardenhire's daughter didn't talk to him for 2 weeks because she thought that her dad traded. I was her favorite player. We had family day every Sunday where we'd take batting practice with the kids. And Tara was a really phenomenal softball player, so we would go out there and play catch and feed her and pitch to her, and we just spent time with them because they were like, the Twins were like family. So he was like, yeah, my own daughter won't talk to me for 2, because I was the same thing. I mean, I wasn't Nomar's player as caliber, but like in Minnesota, they latched onto us like no tomorrow because of how we played and how we played the game and how we got along and how we brought winning back. And it was a very rough, emotional weekend for me in general. And I didn't really realize the ramifications till after I left, till after we got away from Minneapolis. And then I started realizing, like, this is real, and I've got a job to do no matter what it is. I'm on a really good team with a chance to win a World Series, and it's time to, because because I wasn't having the greatest of year. I was coming off the same wrist surgery Nomar had that kind of started the downfall a little bit of because downfall, I don't mean that disrespectfully. I mean, Nomar was, like I said, the elite of the elite. And they kind of brought him back to maybe let's say mortal status with his wrist. We had the same wrist surgery, and I was battling that. And not to make excuses, but I wasn't the player I was before the wrist surgery that year in Boston. But I will say this, those guys, and I think every team talks about it when they win, but this goes on like you can't put a collective 25 better teammates on one team than Theo and the rest of them put together.
I'll get you right back to my interview with 2004 World Series champion Doug Mientkiewicz. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about our friends over at FanDuel, because the NFL postseason is here and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to the bets you like most. The boosts let you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, or coaching. You make your picks, then apply your profit boost to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. FanDuel is a great way to make lots of money during the NFL postseason, so make sure you take advantage of that. And if you already listen to Locked On Red Sox every single day, you can take it up a notch by subscribing to our Everydayer Club. This is essentially an exclusive club in which you'll get access to an ad-free audio feed for this show, compatible with any podcast platform, and also an invite to a members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of this show. So if you head to lockedonredsox.supercast.com, you can subscribe. And if you want to take it up a notch, subscribe to the all access tier where you'll get everything I just mentioned, plus one-on-one texting with me directly to get all of your questions answered related to the Red Sox, breaking news that you'll find out earlier than everybody else, and all access exclusive content that you won't see anywhere else, like interviews I have with players, coaches, etc. Lots of content for you to check out on top of the everyday show. So make sure that you check that out today on lockedonredsox.supercast.com. What would you say made that group so special? Because every time I look back on that team, and even they've made so many documentaries about that team after the fact, and it just felt like they just had a special chemistry that really propelled them in that year. And what would you describe that team as, and what made them so special?
We were the Kardashians before the Kardashians. I mean that we were probably the greatest reality TV show that never aired, in a good way. You saw things that you just took for granted when you walked in and just waved at them and kept walking. I had this conversation a lot with Dave Roberts and Gabe and a couple of the other guys that, were brought on, and Dave and I were brought kind of the same time. They did a phenomenal job of making us feel welcome and part of the group immediately. And by the end of that road trip, I felt like I'd been there all year. And they just, no matter whose job was what, they never made it feel bigger or smaller than anybody else's. Just from couldn't wait to get to the field. You have these moments, and you always hear the horror stories of professional baseball, but it was not like that. We'd be 10, 12, 15 guys a morning at breakfast on the road together. And that just doesn't happen. And you can tell, winning helps, but when things start to go bad, that's what you lean on. And we had, I thought Tito said it best when he said, we have a lot of characters, but we have a lot of character. And I think that really set home, and, Terry letting us be us, and like the anti-Yankees, you have to have facial hair, and you have to have long hair. And we weren't allowed to wear sleeves when it's freezing cold. You didn't want to show weakness. And, Kevin's, personality every day. And just everything from, and no one really took anything personal. And it was just it was refreshing, and let alone super talented great group of guys. I mean, we joked around that we call ourselves the B team. The B team probably could have won 95 games if we put us on and we started together. So I just felt like it had the right coaching staff, the right veteran leadership, and 25 guys that had the same idea of it takes a special group to win a championship. It takes an extra special group of people to ward off the negativity that was surrounding us, that franchise forever, and was like, I don't care what I know what the outside noise is. And we had joked around about it. We're like, if you thought we're going to win the first championship in 86 years and do it the conventional way, your guys are crazy. And not only did we do it in Boston, but the 86 years and to do it down 3-0 just made it extra special. And like I said, we said that after we lost the third game. We're like, if anyone thought we were going to do this the conventional way, y'all are crazy. That's not how this group was built. And next thing you know, one break, and it shows that all it takes in any sport is one minor, what people don't even realize, a break here, a break there, and history can be changed.
Yeah, and then we had the famous "Don't Let Us Win Today," and nobody knew at that time how much that was really going to mean and how impactful that was going to be. And obviously you go down 3-0 against the Yankees, two of all teams, the team that just eliminated the Red Sox the year prior, the team that is their biggest rivals, that everybody cannot stand around Boston with a passion. And it's like, all right, we're really going to do this again. We're really going to get eliminated by the Yankees again. So what were those vibes like after losing that third game in the clubhouse? And what would you say was the mindset that allowed for you guys to have that mental stamina, to have that shift and win 4 straight games?
I mean, I'll go back to game one. I mean, we were down 7-0, I think, or something. And then we clawed it back to 7-5, and David just missed a 3-run homer that would have put us up or tied it or went ahead. So, we knew, look, that wasn't Shill's best outing, even with one leg. We knew that, we're better than that. And game 2 was kind of a blur. Game 3 was almost like, it was the first time I ever saw that group angry. Like, we came in after that game, and we're like, I remember Trot Nixon throwing stuff, which was not out of the normal, but like after a game, usually he does it about himself quickly or an out or something, but he never did it about the team. And I think we were just like we're not going out like this. Like, we're too good to go out like this. Like, not in that form. And I think it was the best thing that happened to us, because what it did was it kind of like, all right, we try to do it the conventional way. We try to get our rest and go home and be prepared. And we're like, screw it. We're going to go down. We've been doing this for me, it was 3 months, for them for 6 months. So we're going to go out and we're going to have some cocktails. We're going to have some beers. We're going to relax. And we jokingly brought one piece of luggage every day to the field that we're supposed to ship home, and kind of like, kept our mind off. It was like, you know what? We got nothing to lose now. But it always went back to the back of your head going, hang on a second. We have Pedro Martinez. We have Kurt Schilling. We have Bronson Arroyo. We have Derek Lowe. And we have, still to this day, probably the most unsung hero in all of, postseason baseball, was the run that Keith Foulke was on. And that says, like, Keith and I was nervous. That was probably the only guy I was really, I won't say nervous, but like I had trepidation of meeting, because everybody talks about the Yankee-Red Sox rivalry. Everybody talks about the Dodger-Giant rivalry, which is like minimal. It's not even a rivalry. The National League can't even compare. But Twins-White Sox really didn't like each other. And we brawled. We bench cleared 7, 8, 9 times. And I was a little like, all right, this is probably going to be number one. And the relationship couldn't have been great, but it showed that, it was my first taste of getting traded. And I was a little like, oh, no, like this could be bad. But like I said, going back to him, like, he was nails tough. I mean, everybody did something that was, monumental. And we just felt like if we get on a run, we got a shot. And I remember someone saying, one of the media was like, the Yankees haven't lost 4 games in a row in 5 years. I'm like, don't tell us the odds. Look around us. Yeah. Like, we got a lot of guys that weren't supposed to be here, didn't this, didn't that. And I don't want to hear that. Like, well, history is going to be made one way or the other. And don't let us, and like Kevin's, Kevin can say some things that, that resonate for years. I mean, we had the shirts, why not us, Cowboy Up, all that stuff. But you know what? Like, don't let us win today was huge. He just said it and screamed it. And it happened.
Hope you're enjoying my interview with 2004 Boston Red Sox World Series champion Doug Mientkiewicz. But just a quick reminder to subscribe to Locked On Red Sox on any podcast platform. I am here Monday through Friday throughout the course of the whole season, talking all things going on with this team. You can also follow me on social media at Gabby_Maljanian10 on Instagram, at Gabby Maljanian on Twitter. And you can follow the show on Twitter too at LO_Red Sox. So make sure you're following and subscribing to keep up with everything going on with this team, as well as subscribe to the Everydayer Club program. If you already listen to the show every day, why not take it up a notch and get some exclusive all access content that you won't get anywhere else? So make sure you subscribe to the all access tier of the Locked On Red Sox Everydayer Club to get all kinds of perks. That's at lockedonredsox.supercast.com. So make sure that you check that out too.
I go back to like little things that I think in my head. I mean, everybody talks about Dave's stolen base as it should, Kevin's walk, but I think back to, I think it was Tony Clark hit a ball in the right field corner that literally seemed like it rolled on top of the short fence in right field, which seemed like an hour, and it was probably 2 seconds. But if that ball stays in play, we lose. Instead, it rolls out over, and rest in peace, my man Wake. Wake pitched his brains out. I mean, just phenomenal. I mean, and then you got Jason behind the plate, and you're going, oh no, we're going to lose this game on a strike. He's going to, Wake, bless his heart, is going to punch out 5 in 1 inning, and we're going to lose. But just so, like, everybody was tested, and everybody answered the bell. And it was really, really honestly, it made the World Series very boring. The World Series itself was extremely boring. Like it felt like we were playing the Tigers on a Tuesday afternoon. Like that's what it felt like. It was boring. It was like, where'd all the animosity go? Like these guys, the Cardinals were phenomenal, professional, respectful. Tony La Russa on the other side. You're like, man, y'all don't have a chance. Like you guys are gonna get your ass killed. But it was true. It's like the whole atmosphere was like, we didn't know if it was like, well, now what? People are like, they haven't been there in a while, and everybody's shell shocked. There's so many things that pop in my head about that whole entire. But at the end of the day, it was really cool for me after we win Game 7 in Yankee Stadium to see Wake go back on the mound. After it was all said and done, we've all champagne showered, and he got to go back out there, and he stood there for a while. And I thought that was like, that was poetic. Like, I was like, this guy had his heart ripped out of his chest the year before. And we all know, I don't think the Red Sox meant more to anybody else on that team but Tim for as long as he was there and what he gave and what he did for the community and what he's done for everything. But to just kind of have a chance to turn the page the following year was really cool. I just sat back as a baseball fan. Like I was like, sat back and was like, don't talk to me for a second. I want to take this in because it was a memory that I'll take to my grave with me.
Wow, that's really cool. That's really cool to see something like that too, because you could tell how personal that was to him and how much it really meant to him to be with that specific team and flip the script and, to come back in the way that you guys did. And that's just unforgettable to somebody like that who really has that, that inner emotion of, wow, this is really, truly something special for me. That's really cool. I'm glad you shared that.
It was fun. It was like I said, and I wasn't the only one. I mean, I think Trot was in there, Dave was in there, whatever it was. Like we sat there and was like, hang on a second. Like I think Doug was with them, Maribelli was with them. I was like, let them have that. Because that was, and I started thinking about the Todd Walkers who weren't there anymore, right? That, that Todd had one of the best postseasons of anybody the year before. And like, that wasn't there. And I was like, man, it's like, I started thinking almost, but there's nothing cooler in the world than spraying champagne on Red Sox fans in Yankee Stadium. It just doesn't get any better than that. It doesn't get any better than that. And I was, that's like the whole world, outside world goes away when the Yankees and the Red Sox play each other.
Yeah, there's really no rivalry like it. And both cities are incredibly passionate about their teams. We were actually talking about this a little bit before we started recording this. Just the passion that comes with the Boston fan base and how much pressure the fans put on these teams because people are hungry. They want championships. And that's just how Boston is built. And you won't really find a more passionate fan base than Boston fans. That's for sure. So what was the environment like of playing at a place like Fenway Park in front of a fan base like that just truly possesses so much passion that you don't necessarily see other places?
I'll never forget when we lost game 3 and I was driving home and I saw 4 grown-ass men like hyperventilating, crying, walking down the street. And I thought, man, I wish I had that much care about something I really have no control over. And then I realized, like, well, I am a Dolphin fan. I'm a diehard Florida State Seminole. I've never gotten to that. But I was like, I mean, it makes sense. And then after you win, you realize and you get the letters and you hear the people and card shows and whatever. And they're like, I took this to my grandmother passed away and she wanted her. My grandfather passed away. My grandfather came to the game, brought me to my first game. And, we took the picture of the paper and put it on their tombstone and stuff like, so like that. I get like that. Like, that's when it really started like, man, like this is more than, and that's where people like, even the casual fan or even the diehard fan, not all of them understand the magnitude of what sports can do for a family, for somebody. I mean, like, that's when you really start to grasp it of the Northeast. You start to grasp like what it means to people other than you. And it's easy for us because we're players and it's a job and you have days where I'll be honest with you, the last place you want to go is the field. It really is. But when you see stuff like that, it makes you realize like, man, I've had a million people come up and thank me, and I'm like, I didn't really do anything. I did what I did. I did my job. I mean, don't get me wrong. Playing defense, being a defensive replacement in Boston in the playoffs, like, it wasn't like there were some moments where I was like, whatever you do, don't let a ball go through your legs. Like just dive on it like it's a grenade. I don't care what you have to do, but like, I get it. I really appreciate it. My only regret was not getting a chance to go back and playing a little longer, with that. Because for 2 reasons. One, I loved it there. I loved the team. I love Tito. Theo was phenomenal. And I felt like I wanted to give a chance to, like, I wanted to show Red Sox fans like that. Everybody's like, you're a great defender. I'm like, well, I can hit too. It was one of those years I didn't do very well hitting that year, but I wanted a chance to go back and play with that team one more time. You always want a chance to defend a title, right? You want a chance to kind of go back and give it a shot. But I will say this, to be only there one time, I think I picked the best 3.5 months you could possibly fathom as a Red Sox player.
I would say
there'll be other championships. There'll be other, the whole ball fiasco, which I won't get into, but Papelbon's dog ate it. Like, try that in 2004. Like, that dog would have got strung up in a tree. You can win another championship, but it'll never be the one that broke the curse, and it'll never be the one that was down 3-0. It'll never, like, that one. I really truly believe. I don't think it'll ever happen again. So, to do it in that city, the way we did it, against who we did it against. Like, it was like, to me, it's like you wrapped up 5 championships, because the Yankees always come back with 27? Yep. At the time was 26. And you're like, yeah, but you never beat us. We were never up 3-0, and you guys just choked it away. So, like, you can't, like, no matter what you say, you might have more, but we have the one that's most memorable. So that's the kind of the way that's kind of where I describe it. I played for the Yankees 3 years later. It was, couple scenarios I ran through with Joe Torre about, why did you pitch to David? Like, A couple times I was on deck. I'm like, did you not see me? Did you not recognize that it was David and not me? Like, what were you doing? But all in good fun. But like I said, I was very grateful and fortunate, and leaving Minnesota was gut wrenching for me. It was like I wanted to play my whole career there. I felt like they understood me as a player, but to get a chance to go and be a part of something like that in a city with that much passion, it was I couldn't ask for a better spot.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there is always this topic of discussion of which of the 4 championships since 2004 is people's favorite, and they all obviously are special in different ways, but it's really hard to top that one because that one was the one that broke the curse. That one was the one that made history, the only team to come back from down 3-0, especially against the Yankees. Like you said, of all teams, there's just something about that championship that will just never be topped. And the feeling around the city of Boston, I don't think we're ever going to see that again.
Yeah, I'm
winning that.
pardon if I'm never going to accept the 2007 championship just because I was on the Yankees that year and I felt like we were the only team that could have stopped you guys, but we didn't. We got beat by Cleveland, so that one kind of hurts because I would have loved to have a ring with both of them. But at the same token, but if you look at, I think it was 13. That team had a lot of similarities. Mm-hmm. Napoli, Johnny Gomes, like really good, hard-nosed, just grinder gamers who get it. Like, that's the cool thing. Pedroia, obviously, Victorino, they're like, those guys got it. Like, they just, you always, as a player, you're always like, man, I'd like to play with him. Obviously, Petey's one of those guys. I'd love to have played with him. Love to have played with Napoli. Just things like that. Like the makeup, the MO, the personality of those guys, it was very similar. And there's something to that. There's something to, in today's world of analytic numbers and this and that, you leave out one big one that AI will never be able to pinpoint, is what's inside of a player. And that's something that goes without saying. Like, you look at every championship team, like the Dodgers now. Yeah, they're great. Their players are great, but they're just built differently. There's Kiki Hernandez's of the world who played in Boston and a very good playoff performer. But there's something inside of, he hits 200 every regular season, but he's a focal point in that lineup every October. That's what those teams had, and that's what I thought. It started with Theo and moved on with whoever else was there. They have done a really good job in their championship years of getting those guys that. Yeah, you might have guys that might have better numbers or a better quote unquote player, but when push comes to shove, you got Mikey Lowell at the right time. Mikey kneed me in the head and broke my wrist and knocked me out 3 months in New York, but because he's so damn slow. But you look at Mikey. Mikey was coming off. People in Florida thought his career was on a downslide. He had a bad year, and boom, he gets a chance to. He comes to Boston and he's hungry, and he was to me, he's probably one of the most underrated players of my generation. He doesn't get enough credit for how great he was. And he put on a show in Fenway, and he was a big part of that World Series championship team. So just a lot of really good stories, a lot of feel-good stories that are along the lines of those championship clubs.
Well, there you have it, folks. Doug Mientkiewicz himself, part of that really special 2004 Boston Red Sox group that ultimately broke an 86-year championship drought. If you want to hear much more from that interview, be sure to subscribe to the Locked On Red Sox Everydayer Club All Access tier, where you will be able to hear the rest of that interview in full. So make sure you check that out. And as always, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.